This was the latest in Mr. Murphy's series on Global Europe, gatherings to discuss and debate a broad range of issues on the UK and the UK's future role in Europe and the European Union.
And in the context of European society having the most remarkable and celebrated political diversity of any continent, which rightly embraces a myriad of organisations, think tanks and pressure groups, there is a certain irony, I think, that some simply dismiss others who have a religious conviction as relics of another era. This seminar is a conversation, and it's intended to be a conversation, about the future interaction between Europe, the European Union, and society and faith communities. So faith, as we all know, has influenced Europe's history, and Europe has, of course, also influenced the development of its faiths. But Europe has, of course, also been scarred, perhaps more than any other continent, by religious intolerance, both intolerance between different branches of Christianity, as well as a shameful history of repeated anti-Semitic persecution. But conversely, we also have a tradition of religious tolerance. William Temple and the chief rabbi, Joseph Hertz, came together back in 1942 to build understanding between Christian and Jewish communities. From this came the Council of Christian and Jews, the first interfaith organisation in the UK, and an organisation dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism and other forms of religious or racial hatred. So faith has helped construct the Europe that we live in today, positively, through helping to forge values, through norms and laws, and sometimes, of course, less positively, and on occasions as a force for intolerance. But both aspects, the good and the bad, are an important component of our heritage.
It was a changing Europe, he said, one of many religions.
There are over 15 million Muslims in today's EU, and we look forward to Turkey's accession bringing many more citizens into the heart of the European family. So Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists and people of other faiths, including the Orthodox churches of the East, are now playing an increasingly important role in shaping Europe's future. So the reality is that the EU is a multicultural, multi-faith group of states with a large non-Christian population. And we see that diversity as a major strength of the EU. If we take a long, hard look at this reality, the real question for us and the real question for the European Union is how can Europe find a space for its religious communities? The Archbishop of Canterbury describes secularism as opening a space, but also potentially closing a space. So how do we together ensure that we are in fact opening that space? Perhaps the strongest reason for opening the space is one of Europe's most important values, that of pluralism. Many faith communities are passionate about issues like climate change, international development, social justice and migration. These are all important elements of our vision as a UK government for a global Europe, a Europe which is a model power, taking on wider global responsibilities, and a Europe which influences other nations, not just by our words, but by our actions. And I look forward to listening today to your thoughts about what more can be done to guarantee that that space is protected for faith communities to play an active role and continue to play an active role, but perhaps an improved role in European society and European politics more generally.
An interesting debate on valid and important social issues, not only facing the UK, but also Europe.